I hereby call to order this regular meeting of the Danbury Board of Education. Will all those in attendance please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're on for our recognition section this evening. First up on the list, we have our Teacher of the Year for 2012. And to introduce our Teacher of the Year, she's from Morris Street School. We have the principal, Mr. Santasero. We'll give you the floor to introduce the Teacher of the Year.
It is my huge pleasure. I'm sorry.
I'll put the mic there, though. Please.
Of course.
Hi, everybody. It is a huge pleasure for me to be here. And just to look at Mrs. Weatherly, try not to beam. It has been my pleasure to work with Judy for the past 15 years at Moore Street School. And she's always been the most humble of teachers, the quietest of teachers, but one of the most effective of teachers. And this award could have gone to her time and again. That this is just a delayed, something that should have happened to her a long time ago. And I know I'm embarrassing her right now. So Judy, with all my heart, I just congratulate you for everything that you've done, and this award is so deserving. Yes, we do. In November or possibly October, we're going to be having a reception for Mrs. Butterly. It's going to be at my school, and we're going to be inviting as many of the students as we can that she has had as a teacher. And staff members that have worked with her as well are going to be at my school, and it's going to be a tremendous event. It's going to be probably a good 3 or 4 hour event, and it's going to be a true tribute to Mrs. Butterly. And as I said, also 48 years she's been doing this, and she is as fresh as the day she started teaching, and she continues to be an inspiration.
As we read the literature, you keep hearing about what's going on in the country about, keeping younger and retiring the rest. I think people tend to forget there are a lot of wonderful, wonderful educators who have been in the profession for 40 years, and it's as if their first year and they're doing wonderful, and there's an example. We're so proud to have you with us. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Mrs. Butler. Job very well. Thank you very much. Also on our recognition section this evening, we'd like to introduce Shawana Tucker. She's our new Director of Adult and Continuing Education. So we'd like to welcome Shawana to the district. Thank you very much for joining us this year. Thank you. Now on to public participation. The board welcomes public participation and asks that speakers please limit their comments to 3 minutes. Speakers may offer objective comments of school operations and programs that concern them. The board will not permit any expression of personal complaints or defamatory comments about Board of Education personnel and students, nor against any person connected with the Danbury Public School System. I'd like to remind people who are speaking to sign in the back and to please speak into the microphone. That being said, is there anyone in the front row that wishes to address the board this evening? Second row. Mr. Haddad.
Good evening. Good evening.
most of you know me. If you don't, Kevin Hammett, Danbury resident, fourth grade teacher at King Street Intermediate. I noticed on your agenda tonight you have, at least all the way down, you had some redistricting discussion possibly to take place, and I was very pleased to see it added to the agenda. I think redistricting is what our school system really needs. It's long overdue. It's a fair and equitable way to solve a lot of the problems that we have in our schools right now. It's really a shared sacrifice, which I think if it's presented that way to the residents of the town, people are willing, to move the boundaries of schools. But I think if some of the other proposals that are out there involve busing kids across town and really drastically shaking things up, this is a much more equitable way of, fixing schools that are horribly overcrowded and balancing them with ones that have some empty classrooms. So I was very pleased to see it on the agenda, and look forward to seeing what comes of it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hackett, for your participation. Anyone else in the second row wish to address the board this evening? Anyone in the third row? Anyone in the fourth row?
Hi, I'm Laura Mead. I was hired 19 years ago this past August, just 4 days before kids showed up in my room to teach first grade. And tonight, you recognize as the 2011-2012 Teacher of the Year, the one woman who walked into my room with a gracious smile and said, "Hi, I'm Judy. What can I do to help you?" I had no idea in that one moment the impact that Judy Butterly would have on me as a teaching partner, a colleague, an educator, and especially as a friend. I want you to know that although she would be perfectly happy to go about her teaching first graders without any recognition at all, and she'd probably prefer being home right now with a glass of wine, you have selected one of the most deserving elementary educators in the district. This August started Judy's 47th year of dedicated service to children. During this time, 48? Okay, we're done with 47. Okay, started her 48th year. Sorry, Jude. During this time, she has been trained in Reader's Workshop, Writer's Workshop, Word Work, Vince Benson's Retelling Strategies and Go Shape Chart, Lit Light, Cast a Spell, DRA1, DRA2, DSA, CST, SRBI, DDM, PAF, Instructional Planning and Alignment and Data-Driven Decision Making, Data Teams, Technology, I kid you not, using Moodle, PLC, Stored Grammar Marker, Inform, Google Docs, Power School, and the list goes on and on for someone who has been teaching for 47 years. However, this is not what has made her an exceptional teacher, colleague, and friend. Judy Butterly is the most patient and understanding human being I know. And if you know her husband, Billy, you totally agree with me. They all know. But seriously, her dedication to children goes beyond anything you could ever imagine. She makes each and every child in her room feel like the most important person in the world. She has a way of explaining difficult concepts in a very simple way and making it easy for all to understand. I know, because I've been one of those people. It amazes me how she remembers each and every student's name, each child's parent, and even grandparents, some of whom she's had multiple generations of. There is a warmth and sincerity about Judy for even the most difficult child or adult, for even the most difficult to deal with child or adult. One of the greatest things about Judy is she never sugarcoats it. She's a straight shooter and will tell you how it is. But you never feel bad about yourself because somehow, you know what she is saying is honestly best for you. She's never judgmental with anyone, child or adult. Judy is the person at Morris Street that keeps us all grounded. She has lived with each of us through births, deaths, divorces, surgeries, remortgaging, my dissertation, and the ins and outs of everyday life. She's the consummate professional. She comes in early, stays late, teaches in the after-school program even after 48 years of teaching, as well as volunteers for events and committees. Although I do use the word volunteers loosely. I think I convinced Jude to chair the Sunshine Committee with me about 15 years ago. And although I was on to something else within a few years, to this day, Judy is the Sunshine Committee at Moore Street School. And when Moore Street started their two committees in response to being identified as a school in need of improvement 7 years ago, I nominated Judy to be the secretary of the Student Achievement Committee. I don't think I have to tell you who is still the secretary of the committee today. She's repeatedly said she will only retire when teaching stops being fun. Personally, I don't think that will ever happen. And thank goodness she has stuck it out through all the changes that education has thrown at her, because she gets kids, and she knows what they need and what they don't, regardless of what program has come and gone over the years. Finally, something that you may not be aware of about the 2011-2012 Teacher of the Year. Mrs. Butterly has an innate gift of prognostication. This past winter marked her third consecutive year of 100% accuracy for calling snow days, delayed openings, and early dismissals. I repeatedly told Dr. Sal and Dr. Glass there's really no need for a personal meteorologist or to get up at 4 a.m. to make the call. All you have to do is to call Mrs. Butterly by 9 p.m., just as my own children do, and she'll tell you what to do. It's really that simple. I cannot tell you how proud I am to have worked with Mrs. Butterly for my 19 years in Danbury, but it has gone far beyond a working relationship. I fondly come to refer to Judy as my mother on earth. I love you, Judy. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Mead. Anyone else in the fourth row wish to address the board this evening? Anyone in the back? Mrs. Chairman.
Hi, my name is Sandra Cherney, and this will be quick. I just wanted to, now that we've gotten freshman sports behind us and the funding of freshman sports, and we're on track with all the kids on the fields and playing their individual sports, I would just like to say that it was a lot of work, it was a lot of effort, some hard feelings from, I'm sure, from both sides. But freshman sports is a necessity in our children's lives, and we would like to just make sure that the board understands the majority of the people in this town feel that way, and we want to ensure, and we will work very hard all year to ensure that freshman sports is not cut from the budget again. Thank you.
Anyone further from the back? Seeing none, last call. Public participation is now closed. Move on to the consent calendar. The chair seeks a motion regarding the consent calendar.
That the Board of Education approve the items on the consent calendar as recommended in Exhibits 11-157 through and including 11-161.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mrs. Cooper. Any discussion on the consent calendar? Just want to raise a point. Just want to say thank you to the city through the United Way for their donation to the Family Literacy Center. There was a lot of talk over the last school year with the grant funding running out that we would not be able to continue this, and I'm very appreciative of the city through the United Way for continuing to fund the Family Literacy Center, which is a positive step. So thank you very much. Any further discussion? Mrs. Cooper.
We should recognize Mr. Daniel for his performance and his service on the board.
Yes, we were going to do that during action item A. Any further discussion on the consent calendar? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Is there an employee representative here this evening? Ms. Murishi?
Good evening, happy new year. Last year was the year that went in, and this year was the one that would start, right? With the flood. But we're currently in negotiations. We'd just like to thank the board for the positive and professional tone of the sessions that we've had. Our team has felt that they've been very productive, and we head into mediation Thursday night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Murishi. Our student representatives are not here, but I will be meeting with the student representatives at the high school on Tuesday. We're going to be meeting with the governing council to talk about the role of the student representative in the board meetings. So hopefully we'll have a lot of participation of our student reps from Danbury High School for the ACC. Superintendent's report, Dr. Pasquale.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you. Another favorite subject, redistricting. as you know, do our enrollment that we'll talk about. We've been able to, through STEM, the last few years, to try to stabilize the middle schools relative to the imbalance between the two schools' enrollment. But at this point, with the elementary numbers growing, we're going to have to go through and really study the possibility of redistricting. So before we start talking about which schools and which areas, one of the things that's important, I think, for the board to consider is a plan. As you know, we didn't have the capital to go out and hire a consultant. What I did do was go through the archives that we have. We must have at least 4 or 5 reports done by a specialist. And so what I did was I went through there basically. This is not my original work, just so you know, but I just did an extrapolation of that information to create a process, a draft for you to think about and change if you want to do that. And one of the things that they talked about in the design was the concept of pocket, mini or pocket redistricting. And that is my proposal for you to think about versus looking at the entire map up there in the city of Danbury and just redoing the whole city. I don't believe, from what I can see, that it's really necessary. So the term that was used in the past was pocket or mini redistricting, so to be consistent, I'm using that term. So the heading here is Danbury Public Schools Mini or Pocket Redistricting Draft. It gives you a background. It talks about the Peter Prada report. He's a gentleman that we hired to do the demographer to look at that work. And then the Satin report, which was commissioned by the city, and that did a spatialization study, which was quite a costly study that was done, and we have that at our disposal to look at, and I suggest we continue using that. The recommendation is to have a goal, and the goal that I would propose is that redistricting would be based upon the grade organization of pre-K through 5, 6 to 8, and 9 through 12, which is currently under the operation that we had. At one time, the study that was done, you had a middle school that was 7, 8, 9, and the reorganization took place with 9th grade going to 12th, or going up to the high school. But this reorganization goal is, I don't see any real change in our organization design at this point. Equality of learning, the aim of this goal is to have equal percentage capacity utilized for each building with an acceptable range of percentage points. What that really is talking about is that if we make any moves, as we do any redistricting, is to be sure that the space is there for a few years to be stable for youngsters. Big for Danbury is the cultural diversity and quality education. It's expected each school will have the students of different races, language, and country of origin. Specifically, Danbury will meet its legal parameters established by the State Board of Ed and the Office of Civil Rights to have the same proportion of minority students that exist in the city of Danbury as a whole, within plus or minus 5%. As you know, going through these through the year, each year we have to do a study, and if we're out of compliance, and you can be, they give you a year to remedy. So going into it, we need to be mindful of, if we do redistrict and students go to X school, what's it going to do at that school they're going to, what's it going to leave behind at the school that they're leaving. The district, the mini redistricting, minimize the movement of students by reducing the affected families. That's the purpose of a pocket redistricting, and an overcrowded school would adjust to those in need of redistricting. In addition, to assure that the elementary to the middle school feeder pattern will have enrollment stability and ensure racial, ethnic, and socio-economic balance within our plan. Stability of boundaries, having enrollment boundaries stable over the near term. That is for a minimum of about 5 years. It's important to parents, students, and teachers, school administrators for some stabilization and transportation costs. Facility redistricting, to create a redistricting plan independent of any future building of school facilities that can be instituted before 2012. Let me just highlight that for a second. There's a lot of things going on in the city, or not going on, however you want perspective to look at. Some things are happening and some things are being waited on, some things are being studied. We have no control over what's going to happen relative to the recommendations that's going to go to City Council eventually, and then perhaps for a vote in April for a new building, if that's what comes to fruition from the study. So I think it's the board's responsibility through senior staff to make a recommendation to accommodate the students next year, independent of anything that may happen from the city. If something should happen that can alter this that's in the positive, we can then take that up and consider it. But I think it would not be on the best interest of the teachers or the kids or the community to wait for any reaction or any approval by the city about what they're going to do regarding space. Plus, we need to have a plan together so that there's going to be budget implication and impact, and we need to have something by November. So I don't think this is something we want to wait. So my recommendation is not, that variable does not need to be considered in what we do at this point. It should just be focused on what the board has control over, and then take it up there. The other thing is, there's a lot of boogeymen out there. When we talk redistricting, there are a lot of rulers out there. I think there needs to be complete transparency, and I provided a guideline that was used before here in Danbury, which seemed to work before, and it's on the second page. Well, the second page really is, I think about it, the second page is simply terms that go along. How long does it take to redistrict? Are there other reasons why you may want to redistrict? At your leisure, you may want to read that. This was a glossary that went along with some of the studies. Here's the criteria. The criteria is try to keep neighborhoods, schools should be kept intact. Every effort should be made to avoid splitting the vulnerable neighborhood areas. Consideration needs to be given to distribution of students by grade level to meet the goal of reducing class size and overcrowdedness. Geophysical boundaries, use main streets, highways, and rivers, and natural cutoffs when you're looking at redistricting. With walkers, start with walkers, those within the prescribed walking distance, then extend the boundaries. Bus transportation, design bus routes so as to minimize distance and time and the bus and maximize efficiency. Expansion, allow room for enrollment increase in each school so as to preclude the need to redistrict too soon. Remember, we talked about maybe 5 years. Avoid multiple moves. If possible, do not move children that have previously been redistricted. Transition year, if possible, consider transition year for those in the culminating grade, for example, 6th through 8th grade. Middle school system that is redistricted, its elementary school, consider leaving the 5th graders at their school, and so on. Permanency, will the new boundaries sustain the school system over a multi-year 5 to 8 years? The process that I suggest is that you allow the superintendent and the cabinet working with the prospective principal to prepare a redistricting plan, then create a community study team committee with representatives from each impacted school, with principals and parents, a liaison from the Board of Ed, a city council member, whose function is to review, react, and suggest revisions to the proposed plan. Each principal will assist with assistance from central office, and the study team will conduct information sessions at the school to explain the proposed plan. All input from all schools analyzed, and the superintendent and the committee prepares a second draft if necessary in a redistrict plan. A second round of information, if necessary, will be conducted by the study team, and after a final review, the study team committee, superintendent, cabinet will prepare a final redistrict plan to be submitted to the Board of Ed for their approval. The Board of Ed adopts a redistrict plan. The intent is to have a plan ready by the November board, if possible.
So that being said, do any board members have questions? Dr. Pasquarello on this item. Mr. Jones.
Dr. Pasquarello, the proposed redistricting, will that take into account some things that we may have control over with the assumption of the Head Start moving out next year? Will that impact? I know the other aspects we have no control, but it seems like this is set in motion, and we've been told that something will be there for Head Start in September of the next year.
Well, my recommendation is I would not consider any of that.
Really?
No. I have no control over permits. You recall when they were building one school, they discovered lime or some kind of soil that had to be removed, expanded in a month. Best case scenario, and I think they're very mindful and they think they're going to achieve this. I talked to Fareed already to get the permits. By the end of this month, I guess the buildings will be cleared so that they can knock it down, and then they're getting approval from the state. They think they'll start building sometime in February. The units themselves only take a week to produce their modules, but then their site development work, they think they'll be in by August. But I would not stand here to make recommendations on those permits, weather, and all that, and then stand here in April and say, you know, we got to do something else. So I wouldn't do that. That wouldn't be my recommendation to the board. So the plan that I'm doing would not consider us taking it over as a school. We would utilize that building minimally as we use it right now, because we know we have at least the possibility of 8 to 10 classrooms here to use, and we're currently not using. That assumption will stay remain for me.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes, just referring to what Dr. Rose said, I think it's better to be safe than sorry, is what I was saying, is we have to deal with what we have right now. Hopefully, everything that Rich just mentioned will come to fruition, but, you know, nothing is certain in life.
Thank you, Mr. Tabasak. Any further questions for Dr. Pasquale? Ms. Cooper?
Not just a question, Mr. Chairman, just a suggestion. Once the superintendent and all those involved have developed the plan, I think it would be a great enhancement to the community, and especially the board, if we all had some type of communication meeting. So everyone will be on the same page, understanding why we did this.
I think I was going to suggest something similar in terms of the public hearing, much like we did for the budget. That might be beneficial, that we can get the public out once it's been seen.
What I would ask of I would ask the board to consider, as they move through with the plan, to think about who you would like from the city council to, that would be your choice, to ask Mr. Conville for a representative or two, and then they would need a board representation to have an handle.
Well, I think for the city council, we'll go through the council president for a recommendation on that. For the board representation on this committee, is anyone looking to volunteer? Mrs. Cooper? And Mrs. Cooper. And second? Yeah.
Well,
Mr. Janelli, Mrs. Cooper. Okay, and then move forward a request to Council President Cabo for recommendation from the city council.
Are you comfortable with the process?
Yeah, I'd like to say that I think I'm very pleased about what we're seeing today. I think it's very responsive to what the board's been putting forth over the past several months. And I think this is a positive step for us to be proactive in terms of finding a solution given the resources that we control. Given anything new may not come, even if it's approved in the spring, may not be ready for 1, 2, or 3 school years. So I think this is a very positive step for us to be able to maximize the use of our existing space. Mr. Jones.
I also think it's very important to have that community relations type of dialogue with forum. I think if you have a two-way dialogue, it's very important to get the public's viewpoint, their opinions, likes, dislikes. We can express ours and explain basically why we're trying to do this, and have everybody pretty much at the end understand the reason for it and hopefully get on board with it.
Okay. Anyone else? We'll move on.
Staffing enrollment, Bill?
The board remembers we have been sharing with you since last June the demographic information that we've gotten, specifically the demographer's projections. As Al just said, the redistricting is a direct outgrowth of that. And we gave you some forms that look something like this, the spreadsheet that had different colors on it. And our point at that time was that while we had some red flags up as we did our due diligence, and some of these items were actually in red ink early on, such as this. These were all the hotspot areas that we were monitoring. Those have all shifted now down to manageable numbers. If you recall, we mentioned that this volatility is typical as kids move in and out of the district, as kids move in the district from school A to school B, and as we try to get a handle on our incoming kindergarten class. It's a wild card on that. A lot of parents would like all-day kindergarten. They participate in the lottery. If they don't get it, they may go off to the non-public schools for a year that offer full-day K. In some cases, parents aren't able to do that because of the economy. So the numbers have shifted back and forth. The bottom line, as of yesterday, we're in very good shape. There is no school that exceeds the tolerance levels that we've set. If you remember, first grade and kindergarten, first grade, and third grade were our hot button items. We're all around 22, 23, max 24 at the first and second grade levels. At third grade, our concern was that we hit 30, 29. No school is over 27 as of yesterday. And in those cases where we have 27, for example, at Shelter Rock, we've been monitoring that very closely. There are 3 third grade classes, they're all 27. Spoke to Ms. Warren. Her feeling is please do not take those youngsters out and don't redistrict them. They've become vested in the school with relationships with their parents. The teachers feel fine. I went over and visited, last week I visited all those schools and all those classrooms where we had tentative concerns. Teachers are fine, kids are fine, we're feeling good about this. We have had, and I'm asking to partner with me on this reality check, we have had a good year with our recruitment efforts. I'll turn over to Kim in a minute on that, but we were concerned about making sure that we had enough placeholders in the budget to absorb any additional expansion. We had 2 people budgeted at the elementary level, 2 people at the high school, and 3.5 at the middle school level. As it turns out, we hired 2 people at the high school. According to prediction, we're actually 1 under with our middle school predictions because of some movement within the school that the principal, Ms. Jolkin, was able to accomplish. We hired 2.5 for Irish Park, 2 for STEM, and 1 a half-time person, 0.5 person for ELLs, English Language Learners. And then at the elementary level, to absorb the increase, we hired 4.5. So we projected that we would need around 8 teachers in the budget. We had 8 placeholders. We actually need 9. And we're close enough so we can absorb that position without any difficulty whatsoever. Kim, anything you want to add to that?
Let me just piggyback on that for a second. I think, too, we're still assessing the special schools at the elementary school. As you know, the way we arrange our scheduling at the elementary, we did reduce specialists, and our teachers receive their prep time at the elementary by when their students go to specialists, they're relieved. We're right now auditing, making sure that everyone has a prep time, and we may have to do some adding there. I'm not sure. We need to flush that out.
Right now, I think when I addressed it previously, I did mention, and I have a little bit more information now, but we had quite a year for applicants. Particularly at the elementary level, we were seeing between 200 and 300 applicants for every posted position. It was just a tremendous pool. It was a very high quality pool. Sometimes the misfortunes of the rest of the state work in our favor, and that this year was definitely true. I have had really nice reports from all of the principals around the district who really held to a pretty high standard in terms of reviewing applicants, interviewing applicants, and then making the reports to us and really spending some time with the members of the cabinet and other administrators on why they had selected the people they did. So we're feeling very good about the quality of teachers that we brought into the district. I think everybody's really, spirits are running very high and I'm quite happy. So from that perspective, while we were extremely busy, I think we feel very good about the results. You'll see the personnel report. You have the much longer version, which includes all of the hiring we did. The numbers are large because we did have a lot of retirements. We had quite a few people that moved on to other ventures, and so you'll see them replace them, but the numbers tend to be a little bit higher than just the 9 that Dr. Glass is talking about. But it was quite a season, and certainly the HR specialists in my office are telling me it was one they hadn't seen in quite a while, and they worked flat out for a long time. So I commend them on the good work that they did as well.
Overall, the numbers, our official numbers October 1st, but with the impact of the enrollment not known, we've been doing a collection of principals and their staff have been great about getting results, and they've changed every day. But right now, it stands just overall in the district, we're up 238 students total. At the elementary, we're at 136 students positive. At the middle school, it's a plus 46. At the high school, it's a plus 56. Actual numbers last year, to give perspective, at Broadview, at this time, at October 1 numbers, with 2010, we had 1093. 2011, it can change. Right now, it's 1103. That's at Broadview. At Rogers Prague, with the STEM, the numbers last year, 1070, and this year, 211, we're at 1101. So they were within 2 students. But again, as Bill knows, we keep getting calls and we're changing. Now, one of the things that we had to do was because the teams at the middle school, as you may recall, they're 7 plus, and our goal is to stay at about 125 for them. And we thought we might have to close enrollment. We have room at Rogers Park for students to go in STEM, and we're still encouraging them to do that because we have some open spots. We have not moved any 6th graders as of yet, although we're still checking as we have students on the roll that haven't shown up yet. They may show up. That may cause us to have some parents and students go over to Rogers Park where we have some room. So right now, we're stable at that. And regarding high school, I did tell you, okay, the enrollment at the high school last year, 210 was 2875. We are now at the high school 2930. Anything else about that?
No. Just one question with that. I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but I know a few weeks back we talked about cutting off kindergarten registrations at Shelter Rock. Do you know how many students ended up being moved over to Great Plains because of that?
I don't, but it was minimal. And the other piece with that is that we also have action and interfaith daycare students. And when we have a school that has a particularly low number, those are our youngsters, but because they get a full day program, by going half day with us and half day with action or interfaith, we're able to place those youngsters throughout the city. That's the arrangement with the parents. So as we looked at this, because of some of the modifications we did in the building, moving our rooms, so on and so forth, shifting classrooms around in there, and then because of the usual ebb and flow, we have, just 1 second, very specific.
Ms. Shelter Rock, I didn't hear that. How many?
81 in kindergarten.
No, how many did you have to send to?
We took some Saracen students who went to Great Plains in grade 3, and I just spoke with Ms. Smith the other day, and she told me it was a total of 10 students.
From 3.
K and 3.
K and 3.
Thank you, Mrs. Horn.
You're welcome.
Ms. Horn's hiding back there. She should have popped up. That was your evaluation.
Just in general, I thought that given the earthquake, the hurricane, and the flood, we're doing all right. We're opening school. As it turned out, we had 3 days of in-service on Tuesday night prior to talking with the city. The reason why we could not open up, although we did have power out at all our schools, it was deemed too dangerous as youngsters made their way to school or to bus stops. CNLP was not able to show up at the areas that they said they would be because of whatever. And in talking to Antonio from the city, he called and we discussed the safety part of it. We could not guarantee safety, so we decided it was the best thing to do not have students go to school. So that's why we went to Tuesday. We do have to make up those days. The calendar already is prescriptive of how we're going to make up days, which says we'll add to the end of the year, and then we'll look at things as we go through to see if we need to use a February date. So, you know, that's all there. As far as the opening of schools, I've been around to many schools, and so has Bill. Things are moving ahead. We're crowded. I think, you know, certainly the middle schools are crowded. They've had to do a few things a little bit differently, assign seats in cafeterias. They have a different way of egress and in and out of the schools. But generally speaking, things are going well. The high school attended their faculty meeting with Gary Caccio there, his first meeting, and that was a great meeting. And that went well, very well. That's it. We are having some problems with transportation. No news, right? And some of it is because of late changes. It's mainly because when we don't have full-day kindergarten, the arrangements for after-school Danbury for years has taken students, picked them up at their home, and dropped them off somewhere else. And it's getting that information to the bus driver, to the bus company, and making sure that the kids aren't dropped off at the wrong spot. We've had some challenges there because it takes about 5 to 6 days to turn that information around. So we're still working through that. I don't know if you want to talk about any of the transportation challenges at this point.
No, just much else again. We're in case. My department members are daily contact with SDA, and yes, we've had a series of late starts, late drop-offs, bus stops, locations as well. But again, I think that would be very easy to be in this school year. We want to have it all ironed out over the next week or two.
Okay, I have freshman sports here just to update you on, I did receive some, as you know, the city council did approve allocating money to the parents. I thank the parents for all their efforts in raising the money that they did. So thank you for that. So we think that's solid. We had just asked how it might, how that might roll out. We did get a check, and I'll let you explain where we're at with that, and we might get the money. How we can do that.
The SOS organization delivered a check value of $11,000 approximately 2 weeks ago to our office. Shortly thereafter, the mayor and the city council released a notice to the public that our unaudited balance for last fiscal year would be passed along to the SOS group in a short period of time. I haven't heard as yet as to whether or not the city or my counterpart of the city finance director has made payment as of yet. We're prepared, obviously, to continue to work with the group. We have estimated costs for the fall program in terms of pushing salaries of $24,000. That will be spread over the course of the next 5 to 6 pay periods. So we're averaging approximately $4,000 per pay period. $11,000 will cover the cost of the program for the next 4 to 5 weeks before we'll the SOS group and or the city funds to finish out the fall season.
So the question I have is just overall, the money the city's allocated and the money that's been raised, that's enough to cover all 3 seasons this year?
That's correct.
And well, I guess it depends how much is actually expended in terms of how much is left over at the year. Thank you. Mrs. Molinaro?
If there is money left over at the end, it goes back into the booster club.
Well,
The money that was allocated from the common council,
yes.
it really is not, it's allocated for a certain thing.
Correct.
So if that's left over at the end of the year, it goes back to the booster club.
That is my understanding. It stays with the booster club.
We want to make sure that that's the understanding that we all have.
Okay. And I thank the parents again for their effort very much. The update on the summer facilities projects, construction.
Quite a busy summer season. The lighting retrofits and upgrades at Danbury High School, Broadview, and Rogers Park. All of the contracted measures have been completed at Danbury High School. CLP has inspected, approved, and released a final payment to our contractor, which is under concurrent ASAP. Broadview Middle School, all the contract measures have been completed as well. We're awaiting final inspection at the utility company. And at Rogers Park and Middle School, all the work is scheduled to be completed, we hope by the end of this week. So the lighting project is approximately 90% complete in all of the secondary schools. The solar panel project, requests for bids were published in the local news times on the 3rd of September, and on the 4th as well, it's a Saturday, Sunday. A mandatory walkthrough for all interested parties was held last Thursday at both Ellsworth Avenue and Park Avenue schools. As a result of our RFQ, there was a showing of 6 companies with interest. Of the 6, I would say that at least 3 or 4 were very good prospects. There will be an official bid opening scheduled for this Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. All bids will be, or the bids will be opened at the Osborne location. Should interested board member or public to attend, it will be held this Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. Shortly thereafter, I will put together a small team of district representatives to review and award the contract to the vendor of choice. All vendors have been notified that the work was commenced immediately upon notice of the award. So the solar project at the three Danbury schools will begin in a very short period of time. The city's undertaking over the course of the summer months with regard in terms of the boiler replacements. Received, was copied on an email from the Honeywell representatives to city officials that all boilers will have at least one primary, all schools will have at least one primary burner functional by the 1st of October. The plan is to have all of the secondary burners and all piping completed by November, having the parts on site and prepared to all units. So the city's project is well underway and it's running according to schedule.
You received something today, mail, actually right before this meeting, opening up our mail, the windows replacement project at the high school. And we'll be talking to Fareed about that. There's some processes that have to happen regarding that. We'll just get you information regarding that. They also completed the field at the high school. So it was prepared so the youngsters were able to use that for their practice and their competition. So that's all been finalized.
In regards to the tennis courts.
And the tennis courts. Have they been completed? Anybody knows? Garrett?
I believe they are.
Yep.
He's not making a racket up there for us? They're all good. Good. All right. Anything else with that? There are some challenges still at ACE. They've conducted a study, and you know the problem at ACE has been a water problem. The effervescing on bricks, it's created because of a system that was innovative in the 1800s, I guess, but it's an internal system for water going through internally, and they think they have to remedy that before they can do something. So that's a major ordeal. So Antonio is meeting with me, and the consultants have given him their reports. We'll have to figure out what's going to happen with that. It's not an easy fix, not at all. I guess you've been part of something some years back when you did some work there, but the water is a problem. So there isn't any use fixing anything until the leak itself stops. So that's a real challenge to us and to the city.
Mr. Chairman, could that potentially be a health problem for us?
Yeah. I mean, you know, it would be a mold problem. We have to be vigilant about being in there and making sure that that isn't a problem. But that's a problem. And you know, we're talking about space. You know, we have students at how many have 91?
88, 86.
86 this year. We had 72 last year. We may have to do something. I don't know.
So just the city is keeping an eye on this inspection with what you said.
I just spoke to Antonio this morning. The reports have come in, and I know he's been sharing with the engineers and the mayor, and we're going to be meeting this week, before the end of the week, to figure out next steps. But if there's some issues there, yeah, we'll have the city will have to. We have a program of inspection for mold, and if it happens, we got to deal with it.
I would hope they'd be on it, knowing that this problem already exists, but they're keeping an extra eye on it. Health and safety is the bottom line.
Yeah, it's not good. It's problematic. But they did want to alert you about that. NCO. I'm sorry.
Like I said, just something I think eventually we will have to think about. And I know we can't do it, but I think eventually we will have to look at moving those schools and the water is. It's going to eventually
moving students out of ACE if it's going to be interesting. You know, they had money in the budget to deal with it, but again, I think that the money would not have been spent well until they could figure out how to stop that internal system. But you're right, you may have NCLB. I put a memo in here. There's the reauthorization of the Secondary and Elementary Act. I'm not even calling it NCLB anymore. And this is all coming to fruition because about 80% or 81% of schools across the nation now are in this category of needing improvement. And I think that's brought enough pressure to Washington saying, you know, what is this all about? And both sides of the aisle admitted that it's a failed process, NCLB. The concept of achievement gaps and identifying needs, that's not a problem. It did well for doing that. It really exposed some real issues in school systems that we have to deal with. But the punishment piece, the redistributing of money, for example, we talked today, we need some expansions of some tutorials for our kids, but the law required us to spend a percentage of our Title I money and for private tutoring. And we're paying now close to $250,000. $238,000 out of our allotment because we're not permitted to, have any programs for youngsters at our schools. And we're not getting the results, and that's continuing to go. Duncan has, because he's made statements at various venues that it's a failed program, has tempted the idea of a waiver. But Connecticut, and I agree, I don't think a waiver would help us. What a waiver would do is basically try to accomplish voluntarily that he has not been able to accomplish through the law. That's reconstituting schools, redoing the entire organization. And the waiver doesn't do anything about assisting school districts or of the resources at all. So what we're asking for is some regulation relief. So one of the things is identifying schools. Some of the central states have frozen the bar in terms of meeting the standard. If the standard that was used 7 years ago was used now, all of our kids would be proficient and exceeding. But Connecticut, unlike some other states, instead of just setting the bar and leaving it there, waiting for 2013 to reset the bar, they kept doing it incrementally. So that bar kept moving, and we kept getting, identifying more and more kids. That's why you're seeing so many schools in that category. But we're asking the commissioner, the new commissioner, to say if they could freeze the bar so that we can, work at a standard and not continue moving up. So Connecticut's looking for some regulations like that rather than supporting a system that's going to give us a waiver. Nothing more to comment about that.
We've been saying this for quite some time. We've been very vocal on the subject. As Sal said, we give $250,000 a year to supplemental educational service providers. There is no evidence in Connecticut that it's making a difference. So we're basically wasting $250,000 that we could be using for all these special tutorial programs that we want to put into place. Secondly, the waivers. Sal and I went up to Congressman Murphy's session farther upstate, and as we learn more about this, the waivers are as pernicious as the law. And so it's just, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And the advice that came from everyone is don't do it. The state is saying we're not going to buy into this. What's really broken is the idea that 100% of the kids are going to learn the same way at the same rate, and they're all going to be at the same end point by 2014. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So the timeline is flawed, and the outcome expectation is flawed. The last part, which we've been very supportive of, is the highly qualified, and we have wonderful staff on staff. Other states have had major problems with this. We have not. We've been very aggressive with our certification laws all the way down the road. So what we're pushing for is the idea, you heard Sal talk about it, we talk about the growth model that says wherever we are, have we grown over time? When we do our testing report, if you look at our district reference group, Danbury is at the top. We're in second place of, I think, 14 districts. And in fact, in many areas, we've outscored our entire district reference group, and we're in the middle of the next reference group higher, and even at the bottom of the next group reference group higher than that. So we recognize that we have issues. Our ELL population is challenging for us. We are the highest scoring district in our district reference group with ELL kids, but there's still a big gap. So we know what we have to do. If we had that $250,000, we could take and put in supplemental programs for our kids and do a bang-up job with it. It's taken right off the top by federal law. And that's what the legislators are that's what Washington is finally catching on to. This was a horribly flawed law from day one. And now, the last stat I heard was 82% of the schools in the country this year will be identified as family schools. Not just urban schools, across the board, from the most impoverished to the most affluent. Something seriously wrong with 82% of our schools. And next year, if nothing changes, it'll be up in the 90s. Until finally in 2014, 100% of our district schools in the state, the country, will be family schools. So something clearly has to give, and that's what they're wrangling with right now.
Along those, I distributed a topic list because I'm using this as an example, and these are just topics that we've talked about before, and the board would like more information on, and I'd like this, do throughout the year. I also have on the bottom, if there are other topics you would like us to think about to present, we've been asked about the balance of literacy, about the technology. So we just kind of put them in the quadrant. This is the way we run our meetings: teaching and learning, personnel, administration, operation, parent, community. And these are just areas that we update the board on to keep you better informed. So if you have some other areas, put them down, and then we look at them with Irving, and we'll figure out how to get it in. Some of these will be maybe need to be a workshop. Some of these could be just quick updates, small presentations. But it's an attempt to try to keep you all updated in areas that sometimes you have questions, or we don't get back to you after the meeting. So hopefully this will help us. Site, we also at NCLB, we have the high school, ACE, and Stately Rough have site-based councils operating. They've actually had one meeting or two meetings, Bill, in some cases. 2 meetings, and so they're up and running. That's it.
Thank you. Going to our action items for this evening. The chair seeks a motion regarding action item A.
That the Board of Education accept the resignation of a board member, Keith Gallagher, as Exhibit 11-164.
Is there a second? Second by Mrs. Cooper. Discussion on action item A. I'd like to start by thanking Keith for coming this evening and accepting our congratulations and our gratitude for your 2 years of service on the board. I know you a little prior to when you started here with your work with Deo and T-ball. You've also been active with football and probably countless other Deo and other youth activities in the community. And I'd like to thank you personally for all of your service, your hard work during your time here, and for all of your work for the youth of our great city. So thank you very much.
Just want you all to know that nothing's going to change except that I won't be on the board, but I have a house in North Haven, but my home is in Danbury, and I'm still doing for the kids. And like I said, nothing changed, but I'm not on the board, which is a policy that we had to go by. So if you need me, call me. Everybody has my number. I'm still there.
And I'm thankful that our kids will still be benefited from your involvement with our city.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Anyone further? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? And with reservation, we accept the resignation. Thank you. Chair seeks a motion regarding action item B.
That the Board of Education accept the June 2011 and fiscal year 2010-2011 operating results analysis, general fund, as presented in Exhibit 11-165.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Tapsack. Discussion on action item B, Mr. Wallman.
Thank you. For the month of June 2011, the district expended $16,939,408 for a fiscal year-to-date expenditure value of $108,139,217. Tonight's report also captures the fiscal year-end performance for the Board of Education. The last fiscal year, the total budget appropriation was $113,895,291. We had a set aside for the air state fiscal stabilization funds, valued at $3,261,030, for a net revised appropriation value of $110,634,261. Against the $110 million revised appropriation, as of June 30th, we had expended $108,139,000, approximately 98% for the fiscal year budget. And at June 30th, 2011, we carried encumbrances, accounts payables valued at $2.4 million. Inclusive of the encumbrances, we expended 99.95% of our budget for a non-audited fiscal balance of $57,865.37.
Any questions for Mr. Long? Mr. Taversack?
On the question, I'm looking at 99.95%, and given how so many things are way out, the encumbrances coming in, I think that was, I take a 99.95% if I was doing it.
Better than I do so.
That's all right.
Or 105%, yeah.
Any further questions for Mr. Long? Before we vote, I just want to thank you for closing out another year of our books. Thank you very much, Mr. Seeing no further discussion, those in favor of action item B, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Chair seeks a motion regarding action item C.
That the Board of Education accept the June 2011 operating results analysis, grant projects, Exhibit 11-166.
Is there a second? Second by Mrs. Cooper. Any discussion on action item C? Mr. Long.
Thank you. For the month of June 2011, the district expended total federal, state, and special project grants valued at $4,162,940 for a fiscal year-to-date expenditure value of $21,866,271. Represents approximately 80.8% of the reported grants and federal project reports as of June 30th.
Any further discussion? Any questions for Mr. Long? Seeing none, all those in favor of action item C, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Chair seeks a motion regarding action item D.
That the Board of Education approve an agreement between the Danbury Board of Education and Connecticut Institute for Communities, Inc., CIFC, for school food service agreement with Head Start for the period September 1st, 2011 through August 31st, 2012. Furthermore, that the Board of Education designate the superintendent of schools as the authorized representative and signatory in accordance with the Exhibit 11-167.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Taversack. Any discussion on action item D? Mr. Janelli.
Gilly, on the rates that we have, that's attached for breakfast, lunch, are there any changes from the prior year?
Yes. For breakfast, the new rate is $1.45. It's a 3-cent increase over last year. Lunch is up by 5 cents, and snack we increased by 2 cents. The 3 cents, 5 cents, 2 cents, respectively, of the meals served were the full value of an increase by the state of Connecticut. So we were able to negotiate the full value transfer from Head Start to the Board of Education. So we picked up the full value of the state increase in reimbursements.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion on action item D? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Chair seeks a motion regarding action item E.
That the Board of Education approve the DHS field trip to Paris, Riviera, Rome, April 13th and 22nd, 2012, as Exhibit 11-168.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Cooper. Discussion on action item E. Mr. Janelli.
My question is, how many students at this point have signed up for this? The fare seems to be kind of steep, and I'm surprised.
Do you want me to?
Please.
Please approach. Thank you.
First of all, they are not allowed to sign up because we need your approval.
Good question. Let me be a lawyer, let me rephrase it. How many students do you anticipate on this trip?
How many students have indicated interest?
Yes.
Numerous students. One particular student that stands out of mind, he's a beginning student in French. English is his second language, and he's just so excited about learning a third language. And he said just yesterday, "Madame, what's going on with this trip?" And I said, "Well, I have to go to the board, and they have to approve it." He said, "Because I'm going to get a job, and I have to start working and save for the trip." So there's quite a bit of interest.
I'm very honestly, I'm very surprised in terms of the economy. Somebody having
Well,
to get the races.
the company that I'm using is the same company that the London group is using, EF Tours, and they're very accommodating. They have monthly payments available, so it's not a lump sum payment. And there is fundraising available. But these kids know about this trip that, so far, thank you, has taken place annually. So therefore, there has been some previous preparation financially on the part of the parents, Christmas money from grandma, grandpa, etc.
Thank you very much.
Any further discussion on action item E? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention?
Great.
Motion carries unanimously.
Merci beaucoup. I'll see you in a few weeks for Quebec. Au revoir.
Chair seeks a motion regarding action item F.
That Board of Education participate in the Lighthouse Training Program sponsored by CAVE, the State Department of Education, as Exhibit 11-169.
Is there a second? Second is Cooper. Any discussion on action item F? Mr. Patterson.
I'd just like to ask Dr. Pascarella, I remember at the workshop, I believe it was mentioned that it's great to have the superintendent on board on that. Remember that, or am I right? Okay, so Dr. Pascarella, what's your feeling on that?
Well, I think if we're going to do it, we need to make sure everybody attends the training. Because there are quite a bit of modules. Where this is only in its third year, and very few school systems have participated. The area, talking to those superintendents, where it was really a useful tool in understanding the data and with the boards versus drilling down the data, and where people got too involved in the operational piece, it was somewhat problematic. So when they say try to get the superintendent on board, what they're trying to say is make sure that it's at the level where we understand what the purpose of gathering the data. So I think it's a good program. And I think it used well if you train them. There's a lot of data, and the thing that you don't want to do is continue to mine data that's superfluous. Depending on individual needs and interests, we constantly have to create the parameters, so we're not just flying out there getting too much data. So I think going through the training, understanding that would be helpful when we talk about data. So but we do need to go through the training. I mean, you talked to Kay about the training component. I have not spoken to them about that.
At our meeting, they indicated if we were to go forward, they would work with us to develop a plan in terms of timing and when we would start. Maybe that's grant funding. Any further discussion? Mr. Patterson.
I just, on something like that, it's sort of like our self-evaluation workshop. I believe it's a good idea if just about everybody on the board participates. But if we have trouble just getting over 6 or something like that, I'm not sure of the value, because really this is something that either the whole board, the whole board does it or doesn't. And we do have a number of new positions that probably will be coming up in November, because we have people who are not running and other people running. I was wondering, can we hold off on this until the new board comes on and just see what the feeling is? Whether we will have the vast majority of the board commit themselves to this. Like I said, I don't, if we did it and we didn't have the vast majority, I'm not sure what the value is, to be honest.
Mr. Chairman, but I thought at our retreat, that was one of the suggestions from the person, the moderator, that, we could look at the time frame that once the election is over, and we have new people, we can set up some time frames that hopefully we can involve those new people.
Right, I think I mentioned this at the retreat, that the fact that we're going to have probably at least four new members, that was an item we discussed. And I think if we don't necessarily have to begin the training in order to say this is what the board wants to do in terms of new members coming in and understanding roles and responsibilities and what's expected of them, I think it's important that we have new people on board, but that we're committed to doing this. And it doesn't necessarily mean we have to start the training immediately, but we need to make a commitment that we're going to improve our understanding of data and overall functioning. I think this sends a message that for all of the new board members and prospective members, that this is expected as a part of becoming a board member.
And I'm sorry, even along with that, we have our new board orientation package that we put together, that once those board members come on, their responsibility as far as being a board member will be clearly outlined in that package, so we can work with them and still continue to do this work.
Yeah, that's the Mr. Jones.
I agree with your assessment. I think I was very impressed with the presentation. I think it's an excellent management tool. I think the existing board should set the tone and make the decisions based on what we're doing today. And as a new board member comes on, that board member is charged with what the responsibilities are on the board. This is, I think, a great management tool. It ties into the menu that we have here, so we're looking to be more proactive. We're looking to utilize data, and we're looking to measure things. So I think it's a great program. And I think the faster we accept it, the existing members, you send the right message. The training part of when it starts is something else than just.
I think it's very complementary to the orientation prep packet that we've developed. Any further discussion?
Just one point, it's not just the new members, it's all the members. Those are here too, I mean, there are some people absent sometimes too, and I mean, if you're not going to be there, I mean, I'll go along with it, but the thing is, I really believe that you have to have the best ones, but I hope we get it. That's what I'm saying. Okay?
I'm all for it. I think it's about teaching and learning, and I think we should be about teaching and learning ourselves. So I think it's an excellent tool.
Thank you, Mrs. Moore. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. The chair seeks a motion regarding action item G.
That the Board of Education ratify the collective bargaining agreement with the school lunch employees wage reopening.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Tapper. Discussion on action item G.
If I might, I realized actually that to the extent that you may want to have a discussion in executive session before this vote to the public session following, that certainly would be appropriate. Those of you who have served on the negotiating team know that this was the third and final year of the school lunch employees contract, and we were at the table for the purposes only of renegotiating wages. It was a reopener in year 3, and the contract that we've proposed to be ratified tonight includes no wage increase whatsoever, but the addition of one floating holiday to the already list of 12. And for those of you, again, who are familiar with the process, in terms of cost, it only implicates cost to the extent that those people who use and exercise the floating holiday take the day, and we need to provide a substitute for those days. So, again, there's no wage increase, there's no other change to the terms other than the addition of one floating holiday. So if you'd like to have further discussion in executive session about the negotiating process, I'm happy to do that and defer this vote until after executive session. Thank you for the chat.
Is there any interest to table this until then? Seeing none, any further discussion on action item G? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. information.
May I bring some to the board's attention? In the information, one of the things that I'm going to ask the board to look at, tell me how you want to handle it, are the stadium fees and update. Now that the field is ready to be rented again, we can do that. But in doing that, I had Dan look at the surrounding schools, what they're doing, because there are so many more fields available, and there was a price differential, so there's some recommendations there about if we move forward with what we want to do pricing wise. So I don't know if you wanted to go to funding.
I would suggest that anything on fees should be referred to the finance committee.
So you need a call meeting for that.
Mr. Janela.
Call meeting for that. That's fine with us.
Okay, so we'll schedule a finance committee to discuss that.
There are, just so you know, there are people waiting, and so sooner we can schedule a meeting better. Thank you.
And I would suggest the other information items people can read if they have questions. Mr. Janela.
The part of Bob's conversation on board attendance, item 11-172. I don't know how to contain what I'm going to say. I've always been accused of speaking my mind and not being a politician and flowering things. But I take what I do on the board very, very seriously. And the time I spend on the board is I devote to I think, beyond what's necessary. But based on the schedule that we have, and just running down quickly, we have 11 members on the board. There's 12, I think, meetings. Just looking at things, we had one member attend 33%, 3 members 50%, 2 members 66% of the time, 1 member 83, 2 at 91, and 2 at 100. Right. There are 5 members going back at a higher end. 5 out of 11, 45% of the board attended more than 66% of the time if you look at an average of 70. I think it's a disservice to the credibility of the board to not have a full attendance. The amount of critical work that we do, we're dealing with a $100 million budget. We're dealing with budget cuts. We're dealing with layoffs. Not to have 100% participation, I think is absolutely wrong. I believe with board members, and it should be made known to new members coming on the board, if personal life conflicts with their job is the Board of Ed rep, then to voluntarily get off the board and give it to somebody who's going to work and participate. We need all 11 bodies in order to drive this board. It's also a disservice to the administration. We lose credibility and respect for them. It's a joke to the public who sees us dealing with a budget of this magnitude, proposing cuts, and we've got the same 7 people around the table. I'm embarrassed, and I'm really tired of taking a slap on the face or being offended that we're ineffective. I don't know what we could do, but I think we just have to go out and campaign more and make new board members understand that this is a very, very important role, and it's more than coming to a bi-weekly meeting and say voting yes or no. So if they want to do that, that's the least they could do, but please make the attendance time. That's what I've got to say. It piggybacks with what Bob was talking about, the meeting we had on Saturday with the retreat. We've got the same 7 people attending these meetings. So it's very disheartening, and it's very, very, very embarrassing.
Well, what I would say is I can't disagree with you on anything that you said, but I do think that by putting this, I put this on the agenda deliberately to make sure that people are being held accountable for what they're doing and not doing. But I do think people are starting to think about if they can't make the commitment to get off. There are people who are not running again. There are people who are leaving for the reasons that they need to leave. And so I think we're slowly moving in the right direction. So I think we're going to get that's going to take some time to finish. Thank you, Mr. Janelle. Anyone further? Okay, the board chairperson's report, the 2011 Cape Caps Convention is November 18th and 19th. I volunteered to attend that this year. I am serving on a couple of Cape committees, so I'll be attending delegate assembly in advance of the meeting. But I do sit on the government relations and the resolution committee of Cape. Also, just for information, I think a couple of days ago I got a letter. I've been appointed to the state task force on vocational technical high schools. So that first meeting is on the 27th. I think it's important I'm representing the boards of education across the state, which are, we're in a position to be either harmed or probably not benefited, but there's a lot to be said for the state. There's a lot that's been said about potentially transferring these schools to the local jurisdictions, and the fear there is that we just don't get enough money to fund them, and we cannot take on what amounts to an unfunded mandate for an $8 million operation, which I looked up what Abertech's budget is, somewhere in the neighborhood of $8 million. So I'm going to represent school boards across the state, and there's about 15 people on this panel. The final report back to the governor is due in the middle of January. So I'll keep you all informed, but we really need to be involved with this to make sure that our interests are met. And the interests of the students that go to these schools, we don't want to have them shortchanged by any tinkering around with budgets or organizational structures. So we'll see what happens there. I'll keep you informed of that. And the last thing, I'd like to entertain the board to my oversight in putting the calendar together. The next Wednesday, the 28th, is the start of the Jewish New Year. So I don't know if anyone is objecting to moving the next meeting to Tuesday, the 27th. Does anyone have an objection to that? Yes, we have. That's my mistake for not catching that.
Mr. Chairman, I think there is a ad hoc committee meeting that you set for the 27th.
Right.
That's the next Tuesday.
We could possibly work on a different date for that and maybe move it. Okay, Kathy, maybe move that up. But I'd like to get it moved up. Maybe think about Monday. Thank you very much. That's fine.
Okay. So with no objection, we'll call a special meeting for Tuesday the 27th, and we will not meet on Wednesday.
Is that a half day?
That's it, early dismissal.
Is that?
We've done that.
The 27th, Tuesday.
No, we did vote on the calendar at the beginning of the year. Well, no, we're calling a special meeting, so that doesn't require it. If we were to move the regular meeting. So we're going to call a special meeting for September 27th. We will not meet on the 28th. Thank you very much. That's my report. Committee reports, sites and facilities.
Yes, Mr. Longo gave my report for me. Thank you very much. And just tomorrow we are holding interviews to fill the position of sites and facilities. Actually, coordinator.
Yeah. Along those lines, how many candidates do we have?
I'm not sure how many we have confirmed for tomorrow. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 8, but we had quite a few. I think it was upwards of 40 candidates.
That's it. Thank you. Mr. Janelle, Community Relations.
Yes, I'd just like to report that this past Monday, Dr. Pasquarello and myself had met for about an hour with Judge Diane Yeaman. She oversees the Chamber of Commerce. Judge Yeaman has been working with us in the past to try to get the business community more involved with the Board of Education. Our focus on Monday was essentially to develop a plan of attack to how to reach out to such a vast community. There were special areas in terms of industries there, being banks, real estate people, corporate leaders. It's very important for the business community to be part of the education system in the district. Danbury is very fortunate to have so many diverse industries and so many in the science and technology area that they can participate and help us. We're trying to do this through the Adopt a School program. We'd like their participation in terms of perhaps giving us in-kind services. We're looking forward to certain things in the future of these little mini academies for the high school. These are great resources for that. Plus, the students in Danbury are potential employees or future employers of the city, and the more of a coordination we get between the business people, the parents, and the administration, it sort of fills that chart. It takes a village to raise a child. So we're very excited about that. We're looking to have luncheons with clubs like the Lions Clubs, Kiwanis Clubs, and we'll make presentations to them to explain what our challenges are, and it's a twofold type of situation. The other thing that we've been working on was last year there was a survey that came out that was done by the Housatonic Valley, I don't know what the coalition, all right. We took a survey, there was one question on that survey which upset me. Joyce will explain the question, and Dr. Rossi, Stan Watkins, myself, and Joyce Emmett were working on this last year. Mr. Procaccio also is in agreement with what we're looking to do, and I'll let Joyce explain what we're looking to do as a result of the survey.
Okay.
Hi, Mrs. Emmett.
If you recall, a survey was done in the spring of 2010 where the Housatonic Valley Coalition of Substance Abuse funded a local group, Stand Together, Make a Difference, and as Mr. Ginelli said, that Stan Watkins, who's a crisis counselor at our high school, chairs this committee. There's representatives from the community on this. And the results, we got the results back during the last school year and started making attempts to unveil the results. So a meeting was held in the community, folks were invited, the results were shared. I shared results with the board. As Mr. Ginelli said, the one concern that really pops out at you with the lowest score that the youngsters reported on was that young person perceives that adults in the community value youth. Now there's a little bit of confusion with the question, as evidenced by the fact that 16% of Danbury youth responded positively, but yet the national average is 17%, Brookfield came in at 15%, Ridgefield came in at 14%. But still, we are concerned about that, and as a result, Housatonic Valley Coalition did a parent workshop last spring, and then followed up by a 2-night workshop where people in the community were able to get trained on how to be an asset builder, how to support youth in our community. So it's not just a school issue, it's certainly a community issue. And as Mr. Ginelli said, Mr. Procaccio and I and Mr. Watkins met earlier this week to talk about what this year's plan is. And so we know the kinds of things that the school can do. We know our advisory committees, our advisory groups will work on some of these topics. The peer leadership program, the health curriculum will all address some of these concerns. Stan Watkins Committee meets the first Monday of every month at 6 p.m. The first meeting was canceled because of a conflict in the schedule, but they will be meeting either next Monday, I believe, and they'll be talking about their plan for the year. So one of the things that they're working on is a community resource fair that will be held at the high school, where resources that are available in the community will be shared with the youngsters. So this is an ongoing thing, and then probably after another year, when this group of youngsters have gone to the high school, then there'll be another survey to look at if there's been any impact in terms of the efforts.
Presentation.
Oh, that's right, yeah. We did, thank you, Mr. Procaccio. There was a presentation.
It will be the next faculty.
Yeah, it was scheduled and then it was canceled because of the PD days being canceled, the hurricane. So Allison Fulton from the Housatonic Valley Commission, she will present to the faculty on the first Tuesday of October at the faculty meeting. So, the faculty will be made aware, and then certainly very specific people that have direct input into some of the things that we look to deliver will then be also worked with.
And why I think this is very important, because philosophically, Dr. Glass says, is that an adult can make a change and a difference in the life of a student or a child. And if there's that big of a disconnect, then it's more difficult for us to have that favorable effect. So it's a very worthwhile cause, and we're very excited, and I thank Mr. Procaccio for picking up what we've done last year and also buying into the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Janelli. Finance?
Nothing except a new date that we have to set.
Okay. Policy, Mr. Tarasek.
We are awaiting a future conference that Ken Thompson is going to. The state, again, has changed its mandates on bullying policy, which we remember put into effect last year. So after that conference, and we get the information from what Ken Thompson is going to, and on the explanation of what's required, that will determine our next meeting. We'll try to add a few topics. I know last year, one of the things we were trying to get at was to look at just what our affirmative action plan was, and we updated it and so on. We'll just keep pushing things off. But we'll wait to that time.
And just one further comment. Over the summer, it looks like they posted the regulations to the district's website, which is a good. In the past, only the policies were up there, and now people can see all the regulations as well. So it's, thank you, Mr. Tarasek. Superintendent evaluation, Mr. Malnero.
Nothing to report tonight.
Citywide PTO.
Yes, they had a very good kickoff meeting, and one of the highlights of this meeting was a presentation that was made to them about great schools, college bound, and what it is videos for parents to help kids provide academic support at home. And so I thought it was very good for community relations and getting parents involved, and it was a good presentation. Yes.
There's quite a bit there, and we'll try to do that.
Yes. I thought it was quite exciting, for community outreach also.
It's also in 2 languages too.
Yes, it's in 2 languages, right.
District development, or TDEC.
No report this time.
DSA, or Education Connection, Mr. Janelle.
Nothing to report. I haven't been able to attend either one of the presentations.
Magnet School.
I don't know if the superintendent has.
I believe the meetings will be in October.
October?
Yes.
Okay. Without any further discussion, the board, the chair takes a motion to move into executive session. Moved by Mrs. Cooper, is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Tarasek. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The board is now in executive session. We'll take a 5-minute recess.